Okay. So in the last session, we discussed about chart of accounts. If you want to create transaction in meaningful way, we need three components: date, description, amounts. So for date, we have a calendar. For description, we have to create the chart of accounts. And for amount specification, we have to maintain the currency. So these are the three components. One, two, three. Three components to record the transactions. Okay. As per system, we have seen how to create the calendar and currencies. We no need to create. Oracle is delivering serial currencies, the same we can use. In case of chart of accounts, Oracle is not providing any chart of accounts. Oracle never provide any default or sample chart of accounts. We have to create the chart of accounts from the scratch. Okay, we have to create the chart of accounts from the scratch. Now, we'll try to understand few more points. If you want to create the chart of accounts, how to create few points, very high level we discussed. We'll see very detailed level also before we create the chart of accounts, but very high level. GL application, we have accounting key flex fill. Within the accounting key flex fill, we can create the chart of accounts. How to create the chart of accounts? First, we have to create the structure name, then create segments, then create value sets, and create segment values. Okay, create segment values. Fine. So this is what we have to do. In the system point of view, if you want to create the chart of accounts by following these components, what are the detailed steps we have to follow? What are the detailed steps we have to follow? We'll see. So the same you can execute in the system environment. Okay. And few other points also we discussed. When you create the chart of account structure within the our applications, so minimum 2 segments we have to create and max 30 segments we can create. And when you look at the real world examples, typically you see chart of accounts contains 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 segments. Okay, 7, 8, 9, 10 segments. Now, so the most of the implementations you will see these are a more or less default and 1 or 2 future segments. Rest 1 or 2 segments client will choose. Okay, sometimes they may come up with a different naming convention also. Those points also we'll discuss. Now, if you want to create the chart of account in the system, what are the steps we have to follow? To create calendar, we used one task called as accounting calendar. We provided certain data inputs. Based on that, system created accounting calendar. And if you want to add the years in the same calendar, we have an option to add the years. Year means the respective year related periods that we have seen. Now, if you want to create the chart of account, say if you want to create chart of accounts. To create the chart of account, what are the tasks we have to perform in the system? The very first task is we have to create all these value sets. How to create all these value sets. Company, department, account. Okay. So we'll take example. Okay. Kind of this chart of accounts. You may create this chart of account in the system. So we will create chart of account with the 7 segments, okay, for our simulation purpose. And for all these segments, we have to create value set first. That is the first task. Create value sets. For each segment, we have to create one value set. After creating value sets, what is the purpose of value set? To maintain the respective segment values. Respective segment values. Yes, we are creating the value set to maintain the values, but you cannot maintain the values directly with the complete information the moment you create. We have to complete few more setups as per system, then only you can maintain the values in the value sets. After creating the value sets, we have to create chart of accounts structure. Name you can see. So already we discussed this sort of title you can call as chart of account structure name. After creating the chart of account structure name, within that structure, we need to create segments. So we are planning to create these segments. So all these segments we have to create within that structure or within the structure name you can say. Okay, yes, that is structure name. Simply we call as structure. So we have to create chart of account structure or structure name. So within that, we create the segments. So create segments. Okay, create segments. After creating the segments, if you look at the data, whatever we used for our discussions, for each segment, we are assigning the respective value set. For company segment, we assign company value set, department segment, department value set, account to account. So it means for each segment, we have to assign respective value set. Okay, we have to assign respective value set. Say, assign value set to segment. Assign value set to segment. Company value set to company segment, department value set to department, account to account. You take example of any segment, you have to do such kind of mapping.
Can't we create in this order? Create chart of account structure name first, then create segments, then create value sets,
No,
then
no.
assign values.
That you can
Okay.
do in EBS. Okay, in Fusion,
Okay.
this is a sequence. Are you from EBS background?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, fine. Yeah, this is sequence. We are talking which we follow, which we should follow. Yeah, we cannot. When you create the segment, system will ask you to provide the value set name. Value set field is mandatory. Now you are creating the segment called as company. You don't have company value set ready. So you cannot complete the company segment creation itself. Yep. This is a kind of sequence we have to follow. So we assign value set to segment, respective segment. So we are assigning the value set to segment. Along with the value set, we have to assign other components also to segments. What is that? Just make a note. So assign, okay, assign segment labels to segment. We'll discuss, we'll understand, and we will set up, and it would be more clear now. Since an introduction, just make a note. We don't need to find out the what purpose, how it works, etc. So we'll understand phase by phase. Just when we come across with the different levels of data, we'll understand. For now, simple point is assign segment labels to segments. Okay, assign segment labels to segments. We'll see like what labels to which segments, why, how, all we will understand. The point is assign segment labels to segments. This is a new point for us. Okay, we never discussed. Just make a note. So we have to assign segment labels to segments. After assigning the segment labels to segments, we need to create chart of account structure instance. Create chart of accounts instance. We'll see, we'll discuss one by one, we'll do in the system also. Just make a note. After assigning segment labels to segments, we need to create chart of accounts instance. We need to create chart of accounts instance. After creating chart of accounts instance, so we need to deploy where we are creating the chart of accounts. Anyone please? So where are we creating the chart of accounts?
General ledger.
Okay, that is your answer. Any other answers?
This has to be in the actual test instance or production, whatever instance we are going to use.
Okay. Where are we creating the chart of accounts?
We are creating in the front end, but it will not be deployed to the, it will not, I would say is,
Yeah, I
go
think
into
I
the
got
database.
answer. I got answer. Every answer is valid at this stage. Yeah, any other answers? My question is, where do we create
Only after
chart of
deploying, it will go to the database. It
Okay.
will sit in the database.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do we create the chart of accounts?
You talked about,
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
is it a vision instance?
Okay. Any other answers? We discussed. What always I ask the questions on discussed content.
Finance setup manager level will offerings and options.
Primary ledger we will deploy.
Okay. We never discussed primary ledger. Anyone?
Finance setup manager level will
Answer is we create chart of accounts within the accounting key flex field. Yeah. Right? Yes, somebody mentioned general ledger and somebody mentioned offerings. Somebody mentioned enter instance also. Yeah, all are valid, but the actual point is we create the chart of accounts within the accounting key flex field. Since we are creating the chart of accounts within the accounting flex field you can call as accounting key flex field, any name you can use. So we have to submit this accounting key flex field for validation. We have to submit accounting key flex field for validation. When you submit accounting key flex field for validation, within the accounting key flex field, we will have our chart of accounts. Our chart of accounts will get validated. What exactly system will do as a part of validation, we'll discuss more detail. For now, the simple point is what step we are going to perform, capture it. So we create the chart of accounts structure instance and we are going to deploy accounting key flex field. So say deploy, that is a term, means we submit for validation. Just make a note, we'll discuss more detail. Okay, deploy accounting key flex field. It's not mandatory all the time you should call it as accounting key flex field. Simply you can call as accounting flex field also. When you say accounting flex field, that is accounting key flex field only. So after deploying accounting key flex field, okay, after deploying accounting key flex field, we can create values in the value sets. Here we discussed company value set, we list out all the companies. Department value set, we list out all the departments. Now that is a task we have to perform in the system. Okay, fine. Here, so create. If this is a company segment, with the help of company value set, what we create, we call as company segment values. department segment values, account segment values. These are values belongs to so and so segment which are created in the value set, right? So say create segment values. Create segment values. So when you create the segment values, okay, we have to add something to those segment values that we call as value attributes. Say set value attributes. Set value attributes to segment values. Here we are not getting any picture. Okay, these all are very isolated tasks, separate. But when you combine, when you understand each and everything, we'll get the picture of chart of accounts creation within the system environment. But you don't try to get the picture now. It takes time. We'll wait for that. Just take the terminology first. Value sets, known term, we already discussed. Chart of account structure, yes, we discussed. Of course, we didn't see in the system. And segments also we discussed. Assign value sets to segments, that also discussed. This is a very new term for us. Segment labels. Assign segment labels to segment. Yes, we'll see what is that. And chart of accounts, okay, chart of accounts instance, or else we can call it chart of accounts structure instance. Both are same. Here we discuss create chart of account structure or structure name. Here we are talking about create chart of account structure instance. Other point we discussed, after completing all these activities, we need to perform the deployment. Deploy accounting key Flexfill. This is what we discussed. After deployment, what we should do is we have to create segment values. We should not create the segment values without performing the deployment. Okay, you have to wait to deploy, then you can create segment values. Why, we will see what purpose. Finally, set value attributes to segment values. Okay, so many tasks are not very clear for us. Slowly we'll be working, we'll understand. Now, the first one, create value set. So already discussed, to maintain the values, we create the value set. Value set acts as a container for the values. Okay, directly we cannot create the values under segments. With the help of value sets, we create the values in the respective value sets. This is the point we discussed. Hope that is clear for us. And these all value sets where you are going to use, where you are going to maintain the segments. For that, we have to give a title that we are giving as chart of account structure or chart of account structure name. All the segments where you are going to maintain. For that, a corporate company or group company or parent company name we provide as a chart of account structure name. Okay, cool. Next task is create segments. Okay, so as per already we discussed, okay, as per the company reporting requirements, okay, as per company reporting requirements, we create chart of accounts, or as chart of accounts, just chart of accounts, or chart of account structure. Okay, any name you can use. Simply say COA, chart of accounts. We always create the chart of accounts based on the company reporting requirements. Okay, it could be internal reporting or external. They may just report outside to the government and other stakeholders, etc., or else it could be very internal. Okay, within the organization, kind of managerial reporting, etc. Any reporting requirements, we need chart of accounts as per reporting requirements. So here we discussed. So when you create the chart of accounts, we just create the segments. So based on the company reporting requirements, we will finalize the segments. How many segments we use already we discussed. Okay, so these are the typical number of segments we use in the different projects, and other few rules also discussed. 2 are mandatory, those are company and account. Max you can go up to 30, but reality, these are the number of segments we create. Done. Now we assign the value set to segment. Yes, that also already discussed. We assign value set to respective segments. Done. Now assign segment labels to segment. What is this? Assign segment labels to segments. So what is the meaning of segment label? Now this is not the right time to understand. We have to wait for some time. At least we will see what segment labels we have, which segment label we have to assign to which segment. Okay, we'll see what are the different segment labels we have. The naming convention we'll see names, and which segment label we have to assign to which segment we'll understand first. Later going forward, we'll understand what is the purpose of each and every segment label, why that label need to be assigned to so and so segment only. This would be our focus. Now we'll see for which segment, what segment label we have to assign. Just make a note. Okay, just make a note. So for which segment, which label we have to assign. So company segment. For company segment, we have to assign the label called as primary balancing segment label. Please don't think about it, just capture, we will understand. Okay, here we discussed labels we have to assign. Now we are discussing which labels. The next step we will discuss what purpose. Okay, for company segment, we need to assign the label called as primary balancing segment label. What is the purpose of primary balancing segment label? Yes, we will understand after some time. Other segment, department. For a department segment, which label we have to assign? For department segment, we have to assign cost center segment label. For company segment, we need to assign primary balancing segment label, and department segment, we need to assign cost center segment label. Okay. So for company, primary balancing segment, department, cost center segment label. Other segment is account. For account segment, so we have to assign the label called as natural account segment label. Please make a note. This we should remember all the time. And other segment is intercompany. For intercompany segment, we have to assign intercompany segment label. So these are the segments. These are the segment labels. What about other segments? Ideally, you no need to assign anything. That would be more clear when we understand why we are assigning these labels to these segments. But typically, this is what we do in every project. Just make a note. We will understand. Okay. So first, the basic point is we assign segment labels to segments. That is the first point. Second point, which label to which segment? So primary balancing segment label to company segment, cost center segment label to department segment, natural account segment label to account segment, intercompany segment label to intercompany segment. So what will happen if you assign? What will happen if you don't assign? Slowly we will understand. For now, just take these points. Okay.
If intercompany and department, some companies are using both. Do we assign this cost center segment to cost center or department?
Segment label. See, label is cost center segment label. Here segment name is department. Department is
Yes.
some department. You can call it as cost center also.
If department and cost center segments are different for a company, and we have both a department segment and also cost center segment. Then in that case, can we use cost center segment label to cost center or department?
Your wish. Yeah,
Okay.
your wish.
Mhm.
When we understand why we are doing that, we can understand. But anyway, since you raised the question, I'll explain. So what level you want to capture your expense, track your expense, that level you assign cost center segment level. Okay. Mostly the companies will track their expense department wise. So assign cost center segment label to department. So you have a department segment and a cost center segment also. Generally, no, mostly both are same. Okay, in that case, what level you want to track your expenses? Department level or cost center level? You have to take the decision. That level you have to assign cost center segment label. That's it. Okay. Fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, so these are the labels we have to assign to these segments. Okay, these segments. Just make a note. Now, another point. Out of these four labels, in every chart of accounts, we have to use two segment labels. Two segment labels we have to use as a mandatory. Those two labels are primary balancing segment label and natural account segment label. So we are talking about four segment labels. In every chart of accounts, do we need to assign these four labels to four segments? No. Two are mandatory. If you don't use these two, when you submit your accounting key flex wheel for deployment, it will stop you. It will throw error message. Hey, in your chart of accounts, the two labels are not assigned, two are missing. It says you are not using primary balancing segment label, which you should use, and you are not using natural account segment label, which is compulsory. So that's how that validation will trigger and it will identify what's wrong with this. So now take the point. I'm just going to highlight. Fine. So primary balancing segment label is one of the mandatory label within the chart of accounts. Along with that primary balancing segment label, the natural account segment label also mandatory. These are two mandatory segment labels as per our chart of accounts. What about cost center and intercompany? These are optional, conditionally mandated. We'll discuss those points also. But by default, if you are creating the chart of accounts, if you are not using primary balancing segment label and natural account segment label, system will reject your chart of accounts. Okay, it won't entertain your chart of accounts, it will reject. It says these labels are missing. Make sure you assign these labels, then the chart of accounts can be validated. Okay, so that's how you get a message. Now, since we are assigning primary balancing segment label to company, you can call the company with a different name. Say, like based on, okay, here what we are doing is when you are assigning primary balancing segment label, what happens? Segment name is company. You can call with a different name also. Here the point is the people who completed their graduation, you can call as graduates. How you are calling them as graduates? They completed graduation. So ideally just those are people. You are calling them as these all are graduates or these all are postgraduates. You are calling the people based on their qualification. You are tagging, you are labeling them with their qualification. In the same way, you can label this segment you can call the segment based on the label which you are assigning to that segment. Now, if I don't want to call company segment as a company based on the label, how should I call? You just try with the label name. Based on the label, whatever I am assigning, how should I call the company segment? Company segment, I don't want to call as a company segment. Based on the label, I want to call. Who completed a graduation, you can call them as a graduates. Here, if I assign primary balancing segment label to company segment, I don't want to call it as a company. I'm assigning one label called as primary balancing segment label. Based on the label name, can you call this segment with any name? Give a try. Short name, simple name. Who completed graduation, they are graduates.
Balancing segment.
Okay.
Primary segment.
Okay. That's it. There is answer. Any name, what you said, any name you can use, but what Oracle says is call it as primary balancing segment. Since we are assigning the label called as primary balancing segment label, it's the label you are assigning, use the name as primary balancing segment. Company segment we call as primary balancing segment, or simply you can call as balancing segment. Okay. So any name you can use. Okay, what Oracle is saying is you are assigning primary balancing segment label. So simply just simplify, make it more simple in terms of usage and call it as balancing segment. That's all. If I assign primary balancing segment label to department, how should I call the department segment?
Cost center.
Think and tell. Think and tell.
Balancing segment only.
Balancing segment only. What you are assigning. Forget about who is the person, what the person did, accordingly you call. Right?
Yes.
So, earlier what we discussed, if you assign primary balancing segment label to company, how you call the company, now you are not looking at company. What you assign, you are seeing accordingly, you are giving the name. You assigned primary balancing segment label. That's how you are calling as that segment as a balancing segment. Now my point is, if I assign the primary balancing segment label to department, you don't need to see to which segment you assign. What you assign, you have to see. What you assign, primary balancing segment label. So then you call as a balancing segment, department also. Whether really we assign or not, secondary. Just to understand the point, I am asking this question. Okay, done. Now, for account segment, we assign natural account segment label. Now just name this account segment, how you can call based on the label.
Natural account segment.
Natural account segment.
That's it. Natural account segment. Natural account segment. So what point we discussed, how many segments are mandatory we discussed when you create the chart of accounts, how many segments are mandatory?
2 segments mandatory.
What are those?
Primary balancing segment and
No, we
natural.
never discussed that. 2 are mandatory. Those are company and account, right? We
Yeah,
discussed
yes,
that
yes.
only, right?
Yes.
The 2 segments mandatory, those are company and account. Now, those company and account, we are qualifying with these labels. These labels, what it will do, it will give some qualifications. Primary balance and segment label, if you assign to company, this company segment will get some qualities, certain properties, certain capabilities in the system. What exactly those, we will see that. Okay, if somebody is qualified with the graduation, if there are any openings, jobs for the graduates, they can go and apply for the jobs. The same way, when you assign primary balancing segment label to company will have the segment will have some capabilities in the system because it's qualified as a primary balancing segment, or say This segment is qualified as a balancing segment. So this account segment is qualified as a natural account segment. Okay, so it will get some properties, it will get some rights, it will get some capabilities. So that's how it is. Okay, now based on the label you are calling these segments, we discussed one point: minimum 2 segments are mandatory. Those 2 segments are company and account. Typically, we assign for company segment primary balance and segment label, and account segment natural account segment label. Now, instead of calling these as a company and account, based on the labels, how we should call these 2 segments? How we should call those 2 segments?
Balancing segment and natural account segment.
That's it. This is the real statement. When we discuss chart of account, 2 segments are mandatory. If I say balancing segment and natural account segment, it will be over the head. So this is the point. This is how we have to connect. So 2 segments are mandatory in the chart of accounts. Those are balancing segment and natural account segment. Now my question is, which segment you call as a balancing segment? Anyone?
Company.
Okay. That is your answer. Others?
Wherever I think based on the reporting structure, wherever
Okay.
you want to run the P&L.
Correct. No. Don't go deeper and deeper. Let's look at this screen and talk about it.
Wherever we assigned primary balancing segment
That's it.
to whichever.
That is the answer
Yeah.
for now. Yeah. What
Yeah.
earlier you mentioned also true, but we are not going deeper now. Okay. So which segment is balancing segment? To which segment we are assigning the primary balancing segment label? That segment is balancing segment. Which segment is natural account segment?
Which
No
segment
need
we
to
assign
ask
natural?
also, but I am asking. Yeah, which segment is natural account segment?
To which segment we assign natural account, that will be natural account segment.
Now my question is, which segment is cost center segment? Same logic. There is no
Yes.
other way of driving.
Yes. Only label based on label.
Yeah, answer. Just my question is, which segment is cost center segment?
To whichever segment we apply that, it is.
Yeah, to which segment we are assigning the cost center segment label? That segment we call as cost center segment. Which is our cost center segment as per our current discussion?
Department.
That's it.
Department.
The same way, intercompany segment means to which segment you are assigning intercompany segment label. That segment is intercompany. Mostly we create as an intercompany segment as intercompany. But anyway, we have to assign the label. But those cost center segment label and intercompany segment labels, by default, those are not mandatory. Those are not compulsory. In every chart of accounts, we need primary balancing segment label and natural account segment label. So which segments we are assigning primary balancing segment label and natural account segment label? Those we call as balancing segment and natural account segment. If I say, when you create the chart of accounts, balancing segment and natural account segments are mandatory, it means 2 segments required. For 2 segments, the same labels need to be assigned. Then only those will become balancing segment and natural account segment. Okay. So here, another point. So this segment we are calling as a company. When you call this company as a segment as a company, these values, how you call? When you call this segment as company, these values, how do you call?
Company values.
Company values. Now, instead of calling it as a company, I'm calling it as, based on the labels, how do you call? Balancing segment, right?
Right.
When I call it as a company as a balancing segment, how I'm calling company as balancing? I'm assigning the primary balancing segment label based on the label I'm calling. When we call this as a company segment, these are the company segment values. When I call it as balancing segment, the values I should call as,
Balancing segment.
Good values.
that's it, no secret. So these are balancing segment values. So company segment values we are calling as balancing segment values. Why? Company segment itself you are calling as a balancing segment since the label is assigned. When you call company as a balancing segment, the values we call as balancing segment values. Please make a note of that point. Okay. So when you call this account as a natural account segment, because we are assigned natural account segment label. So these values we call as,
Natural account segment values.
that's it. Natural account segment values, nothing but your account values only you call as natural account. Reason, you are assigning the natural account segment label to account. Then if you call it as a cost center, this we call it cost center values. That's all. So everything we are just representing based on the labels. Okay, we are representing the naming convention based on what label you assign. If you ask what label you assign to which segment, so accordingly we are calling the values also, we are just representing based on the label information. Now the final point here is, when you create the chart of account, two segments are mandatory. Those are balancing segment and natural account segment. And balancing segment related values we call as balancing segment values, BSV. Okay, BSV means balancing segment values. So typically we assign primary balancing segment label to the company owner. There are other possibilities also we'll discuss. Okay, but 99% it would be your company. Fine. So just make a note, what are the labels we discussed, which label we assign to which segment, when you assign the label to any segment, how the segment can be called, the values can be represented. So these are the points, just make a note. And we'll see the colors inside of those labels, why, how it works and all. But now it would be so early and it will confuse us to understand the concept. Once we just jump into the system, when you create, when we use, it will start behaving. Okay, every label will have one behavior. So based on that, we will understand. For now, these are the points we have to understand. Okay, so before we proceed, any questions on this point? Assign segment labels to segments. Okay, these two are mandatory, these are two are additional we use. There are few more also we'll see in the system, but generally we don't use those, but anyway we'll see in the system for our understanding. So before
Lakshman,
we
I joined
proceed,
actually
any
late.
questions on this point, please?
Yeah. So, Lakshman, I joined late, so I have a question. Like segments are nothing but chart field values, right? Like
Yeah, chart fields. Chart
Chart
field
fields.
values not. Chart
chart
field.
fields.
In the
Sorry.
chart field, you will have a values as per the
Yeah, got it.
result. Yeah.
Yep.
So chart field values are nothing but segment values.
Segment values. Oh, got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
Is
Yeah,
it mandatory to assign segment labels to all the segments?
You tell me, what did you understand? We made it very clear, right? Only two labels are mandatory.
Yeah. For example, project, future one and future two, even though if we don't assign, that is okay.
Even if you don't assign cost center segment label, also nothing will happen.
Okay.
Yeah. We made that's what we are very clear. These two are mandatory.
Okay.
These two are mandatory, these two are optional, and again, conditionally, those will become mandatory. Those will come to know. Okay. So, but if you are creating the chart of accounts, if you want system to allow you to create the chart of accounts with a good health, these two are mandatory. Yeah. Rest optional. Few conditionally mandatory, few are not at all mandatory in any condition.
Okay.
Like, can a segment have multiple segment labels? Can
Yes.
one segment?
Yes.
Okay.
So I can assign all this labels to company only. But first we have to understand what is the purpose of the label. Then whether it will make sense or not, we can understand. But to answer your question, yes, one segment you can assign multiple labels. I can assign these 4 labels. Okay, but system will laugh. Hey, what this guy is doing.
Because you said like it will inherit some properties, right?
Correct,
So,
correct.
yeah, that is the reason I asked the question.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it is possible. Yeah, you can do that. Whether really you have to do or not, we will realize when we understand these purposes of labels.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, fine. Any questions here, please?
Curious to know, you given only natural account segment. I would like to know, do we have any other segment labels like non-natural
You
accounts?
mentioned the natural account means I mentioned 4 here.
Yes. Do we have other than those any like non-natural account segment, non-balancing segment like that?
No. Say like when you say these are graduates, others are not graduates, right? You no need to say 2 ways, right?
Okay.
These
No,
are
the different
boys.
kinds,
Yeah.
different kinds of
No.
balancing segment.
These are primarily there are few more, but not as you illustrated. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like this is a primary, other one is non-primary. This is a cost center, other one is non-cost center. No. Oracle is not going with 2 ways. One way they are saying, if this is primary, yeah, that is primary. Remaining all are not primary. That's it. Yeah. So 2 ways we don't address, but there are few other
Yeah.
labels also which generally we don't use, but anyway we'll discuss.
Okay.
Yeah. For now, this is a meat we need. Okay. Fine. Now,
So question might be asked like different balancing segments. What are the types of balancing segments? What
we
are the
will come
types
to
of
know.
accounts?
First of all, do you know what is a
Yeah.
balancing segment? Right? No,
No,
right?
just only
Yeah,
I'm
no. I got your point. We need it. What you are asking, we need it. Not now, after some time. Once we smell what is a balancing segment, why we are just qualifying company as a balancing, why we are qualifying a natural account, why we are qualifying cost center. Now we are talking just what we do. We are discussing. Slowly we understand why we are doing or why we did after some time. By the time it would be why we did. Yeah. So already say we discussed what is the purpose of primary balancing segment label natural account, then we can discuss, we can answer to your question. Yeah. We will come across that. Okay. That's what I mentioned. It would be so early. Okay. So when we are learning ABCD, we have to learn ABCD only. We should not talk about masters with us to
Okay, fine.
right? That's how it is. We'll go in the sequence. For now, you take this. This will keep us with good stand. Okay. When we move to next step, when we have to understand what is the purpose, I can explain. For me, cakewalk, I can explain, but few people will broke. That's how it is. Fine. So this is what just we have to capture. We have to understand why still that is pending. Okay, just we are discussing which is segment, what label we have to assign. Based on the label, how we should call. This is the content we discuss. Why we have to assign to this only to this segment, this to only this segment. We will come to know. We'll come to know. Okay, in the system. Yeah, done. Now next point. So assign segment labels to segments. We discussed which label to which segment. The other one, create chart of account structure instance. Now, if you create value sets, structure names, segments, assigning value sets to segments, and assigning segment labels to segments, once you complete all these, this is treated as our chart of accounts. This is treated as our chart of accounts. We can say chart of account is ready, but values are not there in the chart of accounts. That's how it is. So whatever, once you perform this, okay, series of tasks, you can say our more or less our chart of account is ready. But the same chart of accounts what we are doing, we cannot use directly. Before we jump into that point, what is the meaning of the English term instance?
Value.
Okay. English term meaning.
An Oracle instance, I mean the environment.
Okay, environment.
A
English term
platform.
meaning.
A platform.
No, English term meaning. I am asking. It's what do you mean instance? I am not asking. English term.
Example.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, correct. Almost similar. Replica, copy, exactly, or duplicate. Here, instance means yes, you can take as a replica or copy. Chart of account structure instance, okay, means whatever we are creating with by using all these tasks, we are going to create our chart of accounts. That chart of accounts you will copy, that you call a chart of account structure instance. Okay, so this is software copy. Now we are not talking about software copy, we are talking about chart of account structure copy. Okay, so by performing these series of tasks, we create our chart of accounts that we copy, that we call as, instead of calling as create chart of account structure copy, we are calling as instance. Okay, so that is the meaning of chart of account structure instance. Say we are creating calendar. If you copy the calendar, you may call it as calendar instance. Means calendar copy. That is the meaning of it. We don't do that, but just for our understanding, we are taking that point. Okay, create chart of account structure instance means what are the chart of account structure we create within the system that we copy and we call as instance. Very simple. Why we copy, that we will discuss when we are copying an instance directly. When we are performing that activity, we will discuss. For now, understand the step, what we are doing reality in terms of create chart of account structure instance. Create chart of account structure instance, nothing but, so with all these steps, we are creating our chart of accounts that we are copying, that we are calling as a instance. Create chart of account structure instance. We discussed other instance. We have instances, we have a landscape. That is a copy of entire software. That I'm not talking about entire Oracle instance. I'm talking about just chart of account structure instance. So this is the point we have to understand. Another point is deploy accounting key flex field. Deploy is nothing but validate. So where do we create our chart of accounts? Chart of accounts we create within the accounting key flex field. Instead of validating our chart of accounts alone, always what we do is we submit accounting key flex field for validation. So within this accounting key flex field, how many chart of accounts we have, all system will trigger the validation process. Okay, we cannot validate one by one our chart of accounts. Validation, we have to initiate at accounting key flex field. Within the accounting key flex field, all the chart of accounts will get selected for validation. That's how it works. Now, so deploy accounting flex field means we are submitting accounting key flex field for validation. When you submit accounting key flex field for validation, system will identify all the chart of accounts. The chart of accounts will be submitted for validation. Okay, deploy means validate, or technically, if you want to take the term, say compile. So we are going to compile, we are going to validate, or say we are going to deploy. The Oracle given term is deploy. You can understand as validate or compile. So we have to deploy the accounting flex field. When you submit the accounting key flex field for a deployment, inside of accounting key flex field, how many chart of accounts are there? All will get validated. What system is going to validate? 2 points it will validate. In every chart of accounts, these 2 labels are available or not, it will check. If any one of the label is missing, only 2. We are not talking about 4. The 2 labels are not available or not, it will check. That is the first point. Second point is, any label is assigned to more than one segment, it will check. As per the rule, okay, as per this chart of accounts policy, one label you should not assign to more than one segment. Okay, one label. Say primary balancing segment label. This label, if I assign to company, I should not assign the same to other segments. If you want to assign, system will allow, then it will slap. So we should know we should not assign one label to more than one segment. That also system will verify when you submit accounting key flex fill for deployment. Okay, it will allow and it will say, hey, you should not assign. So these are the 2 points your deployment process primarily is going to check. The primary check is, first it will check in every chart of accounts the 2 labels are assigned or not. What are those? Primary balancing segment label and natural account segment label. The second one is any chance one label is assigned to more than one segment, it will check. If any label is assigned to more than one segment, it will throw as error message. These 2 points, if 2 labels are missing or one label is missing, it will throw error message saying that in so and so chart of accounts, so and so label is missing. Please make sure these 2 are mandatory. Go and assign. In any chart of accounts, one label is assigned to more than one segment, it will throw error message. You are violating the policy. So you should not assign one label to more than one segment. If you assign one segment multiple labels, cool. It won't say anything. That is okay. Really we have to assign or not, we should. That's it. It will check primarily 2 points. 2 labels are mapped in every chart of accounts. And second point is one label is assigned to more than one segment or not. If it is assigned, it will reject. It will say you should not. So this is how like the deployment process will work. Any questions here, please? Then you have to go and correct again. You have to redeploy. So you submitted accounting key flex fill. You created your chart of accounts. You assign labels. You complete all the above series of tasks. Now you submitted for deployment. It is throwing error message. Hey, in your chart of accounts or in other chart of accounts, so label is missing. Then you have to go back and you have to assign that label. Then again you have to come
job
back to
guarantee program on Oracle Fusion Cloud Financials. Yes.
please.
Your job is our responsibility.
Somebody is
As a
playing
part-
the video.
program.
Anil, please. Fine. Okay. Sorry for that.
Like Lakshman, the second point, it is like confusing. Like, can you please
Yeah. Simple.
give it an
See,
example?
see, primary balancing segment label. Okay. This label you should not assign to 2 segments, I'm saying. Okay. Got it? Only there should be one balancing segment in the chart of accounts. If you assign primary balancing segment label to company and department, how many balancing segments you will have in your chart of accounts?
2.
That's it. That is wrong. Only one should be.
No, as you have given 4, right? Like the segment labels here.
Come on,
There are
come
like
on,
30.
come on. No. 4 are different. 4 are not same.
Okay.
Right?
No.
Right?
I'm saying like there are 30 segments, right? Again, if in case there is any other department operating unit is there, another segment. So if we assign primary balancing
We should
segment, it
not.
is wrong.
That is the point we are discussing.
It is wrong. That's what. Okay.
Yeah, only
got it.
one.
Now got it.
Yeah,
okay.
only
Now
one.
got it.
Yeah.
One primary
30,
balancing
but,
segment, one natural account segment.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes. Yeah. One cost center only. One intercompany only. Everything one. Okay. Fine.
You mentioned multiple segment labels can be assigned to one segment.
Correct. Yes.
But if we assigned multiple segment labels to one segment, then
All
those cannot
qualities it will get.
then they cannot be assigned. Whatever is multiple segment assigned to segment labels assigned to one
Correct.
segment.
Yeah. True. We are understanding the points. Really, we do or not. That is matter. Generally, we don't assign. See,
Hmm.
primary balance and segment, we are talking about company we assign. We are not talking natural account also will assign to company, right?
Correct, correct.
That's how it is. Yep. Because every label will add some qualities to the segments. Which segment should get which qualities, accordingly we assign. Yep. That's how it is. Yep. Just make a note of these points. Yeah, we'll understand. We'll understand. We will test also the system, how primary balance and segment label will behave when you record the transaction. How natural account segment label will behave when you record the transaction. When you record the transaction, then only you see the behavior of those labels. Yep. This natural account segment label behavior we will see very soon. Once we start creating the chart of accounts, you will start observing how it is going to behave, how it is going to function. But primary balance and segment label and rest you will understand when you create the transactions only. Yeah, that's how it is. Fine. Okay, the first validation point is two labels are available in every chart of accounts or not. If not, it won't allow that chart of accounts to be deployed. Second point, one label should not be assigned to more than one segment. If any label is assigned to more than one segment, it says, hey, you did mistake. You remove that. You finalize which you want to map to what. That's it. One-to-one relation. Okay. One-to-one relation in terms of assigning the segments to, like assigning the labels to segments. But when you talk about segments point of view, one segment you can assign multiple labels also. That is many to one. Segments to, okay, segments to segment labels one to one. Okay. One to one, many to one also you have. One to one when you say one label to one segment. And one segment, many labels you can assign. But whatever you are assigning many, those already should not be assigned to another segment. So these are the validation point system will verify. Yep. Just make a note.
Lakshman, just what I understand, I tell you, like if in case the company segment is there, we have to assign like primary balancing segment label
Yes.
and natural accounting segment label.
Correct.
Even for department also the same applies. Primary balancing segment label also we have to assign.
No,
Natural accounting.
No. Come on.
It's not.
That is the key point here. Okay, primary balance and segment, you have to assign to one segment and you cannot assign to more than one segment. For department, what we assign? What we assign?
It's cost center. Yeah.
The cost center, that's all.
Segment label to
See,
segment one.
One second, please. One segment label to only one segment.
Okay.
Okay. See, I have 100 rupees with me. I given to one person.
No.
Like, no, 1 second. Don't mind.
Okay,
sir. Simple point. I have 100 rupees with me or $100 with me. I given to one person. Can I give same $100 to another person also?
No.
That's it. Same here. If you assign primary balancing segment label to one segment, it lost.
Yes, sir. Okay.
That's it. Fine. Now, you just make a note. Let's not drill down now. Okay, we cannot see the colors because we are not standing at that level now. Once we create chart of accounts in the system, there will have a plenty of questions. Okay, to understand better and better. So for now, just make a note. Capture this data and keep ready. What are the points we discussed? Your questions are valid, but time is not right time to discuss those because we have to see in the system.
I would say is segment label to segment, one-to-one relationship.
Yes.
Segment to segment label, many to one.
Correct. Yes. One label to one segment, many labels also can be assigned. But that should not be repeated.
Yeah.
Fine. Now create segment values. Next point is create segment values. Very simple. In every value set, you create the segment values. Okay, in every value set, you create the respective values. And set value attributes to segment values. Set value attributes to segment values. So set value attributes to segment values means, here, let me write it. What does it mean by setting value attributes? So say allow budgeting, allow posting, account type. Primarily, these are very primary. Just make a note. If you don't get this, leave it, no problem. Just I want to introduce the terminology. Value attributes means, say, I'll create one account called as admin expense. Admin expense. As per my company policy, for admin expense, I want to set budget or not. If I want to set budget, I'll set as yes. For admin expenses, I'm not setting budget. No budget I have in my company. I'll set as no. With admin expense account, I will record the transaction. When I record the transaction related, I want to create reports or not. With the same admin expense, if I record the transactions, if I want to create the reports, I have to set to yes. When I set as a yes, I can create the transaction, I can enter the amounts I can post to the accounts. The transaction, which is the account, admin expense account. I spent $100. Admin expense account I have, admin expense account I am setting allow posting as yes. Means I am telling to the system, please allow this account to process the transactions. I'll set yes. If I set allow posting as a no for admin expense, I can record the transaction with admin expenses. But even if I record the $100, I cannot post to admin expense. Just I can tag. Say you are just filling online application. You created one account, you signed up for one account, one portal, and you filled the application. You filled all you saved in your account. If you don't submit, no use, right? If you submit, it will go to the destination and you'll get the response. You created in some portal login credentials and you created your application. You filled your application and you saved in your account. You are not submitting. Here also say, you are creating a transaction. Allow posting means submit. Yes. S means, yeah, submit. If I say no, just create and save it. That is the meaning of it. So every transaction we set allow posting as yes. That means you can create the transaction with that account and you can update the balances in the system so that you can produce the reports. If you want to create the budget for this account in your system, you will set as yes. Now admin expense. What type of account is this? That we have to set. We have different type of accounts like expense, assets, liabilities, revenue, ownership equity or owner's equity, or simply say ownership. These we call as account types. When you create this account or any account, say I'm creating an account called as salaries. Now salaries is which type of account we have to select in the system. Salaries comes under which type of account?
Expense.
Expense. If somebody is not aware of it, no issues, we will understand all those points. Expense. Okay, expense. So we are paying, we are spending. Okay, it comes under expense. The same way, like you are doing some sales, computer sales, that you treat as revenue. You can clearly write also. So sales revenue, etc., or else you can call as asset also. Okay, that depends. The transaction, like customer, you just treat as a their asset. Customer is going to pay you. You are billing to the customer. So that's how whatever the accounts we are going to maintain in the system, or else what are the values you are going to enter in the system. Okay, you are going to create all these three companies. For three companies, you have to set allow budgeting, allow posting. Whether those three companies you are going to define budget or not, you are going to post that company related transaction in the system or not. If you are creating these accounts in the system, if you are creating these accounts, for these accounts, you have to set those accounts belongs to which type of accounts, means which nature. See here, account means nature. These are the five natures. Which type of account, setting all these value attributes, setting all this information for this your company's department's account, what is applicable, what is not applicable, we'll see the system. So value attributes means you'll set whether the segment value is allowed for budgeting or not. With that account, with that value, you are going to create the budget or not. You are going to process the transactions or not. If the value is account, what type of account is that? This complete information will get from the client. You no need to discover anything. Okay, when you're working, all the accounts, what they are using, what is the nature of each and every account client will provide. Simply we have to create in the system in the smart way by using the spreadsheets. We'll come across simple point. Value attributes means what are the values you create. Okay, I'm going to create these five departments. Finance department, allow budgeting is yes or not. I'll set for 5. For these 5 departments, allow posting is yes or not. By default, we set allow budgeting, allow posting yes for everything. All these will set as a yes only. And when you talk about when you are dealing with only accounts, you have to set additional information. Which type of account is that? You cannot set type of account for this. This is not account first of all. This is not department. This is not account. Only for accounts you will set. So how can you set only for account? Which type? Because you are assigning natural account segment label. When you assign natural account segment label to account, when you are creating account values, it will give you additional privilege to select which type of account is that. Don't try to understand now. We'll see that later. But simple point here is value attributes. Value attributes means we'll be setting additional properties for each and every segment value. The segment value can be used for budgeting or not, posting or not. If there is an account related value, which type of account is that? I'm creating one bank account. The bank account, you have to set bank account I'm creating. For that, I have to set account type as asset. Yep. So this is how we have to set what are the segment values we have for those segment values which are allowed for posting, which are allowed for budgeting. What type of account is that? What is the nature? The 5 types only we call as nature of a type, nature of accounts. Okay, these are the 5 natures. This all we have to set with this task. Set value attributes to segment values. Whenever you create the segment value in the respective segments, the segment related value sets, you have to set allow budgeting, allow posting, wherever it is applicable, account type also. So this is what really we are going to do. On top of it, there are a few other points also you have to understand. Okay, so we will understand because now just I'm introducing. I'm not trying to complete this. Okay, if you are still finding it's a gray, no worries. I'm just trying to introduce the terminology and I'm just talking about how we are going to play the game. So when I say how to play, you cannot understand. When you're playing, you can understand better. So let's wait to do that. In the next session, we are going to see that. Okay, everything we are going to do. Then what are the gaps, what are the clarifications still is missing from your side, it would be more and more clear. Yep. So we are going to do everything in the system. When we are doing again, we have additional layer of discussing the relevant points. Now, by standing outside what we can discuss, we are discussing. But you should get ready, you should get prepared with this data so that when we are doing this in the system, it will become just cakewalk for you. It won't become challenge. It won't become pretty much new for you. It is something known. Tomorrow I'll be asking you, tell me first what we have to do. You will be telling me we have to create values. Next, I'll ask question, what is next? You will say we have to create the structure name. Of course, we never created, but you know what sequence we have to follow and what to create. And purpose, we may not be very, very clear for everything. We will be clear when you create in the system. Yep. So that's how it is. We done for today. If you have any questions, please stay back. We'll discuss. Okay. Please stay back. We'll discuss. We done for today. We'll connect tomorrow, same time. Thank you all. Now, any
Lakshman, I couldn't able to join first two classes. So is there any way that I can,
Yeah, first up
see
to
those?
5 sessions. This is the 6th session. Okay.
Okay.
5 sessions up to 1 to 5 already we uploaded in the YouTube channel.
Okay.
You can keep in touch with our team and you can get for them, or else you can go to our channel. So initial top 2 or top 5 videos are the latest, those one.
So are you going to upload all these like 5 classes on the drive as well?
Yeah, I'll be uploading. Today I'm going to do that. But that people will get who already subscribe.
Yeah. Okay. And the another thing is that I mean I received a message in the morning that the instance is low. I mean is down. So I mean right now is instance is working.
I will
Like,
set it
will
up. I'm going to, I think before starting session, that point only discussed. I'm going to create the drive today. Okay.
Okay.
After
Okay.
maybe a couple of hours, I'll create the drive. I'll put
Mhm.
all these videos. Along with that, I'll just add the instance details.
Sure. Thank you.
You'll get email
Along with
notification. You'll get email notification to the Google Drive and you can access.
Yeah. Thank you.
right,
Yep.
And one
Lakshman,
more
along with
question,
the
like, sorry.
Please go ahead.
Lakshman,
Along-
just I joined late, so I just want to know, like, it's a new word to me, like accounting key flex field. Uh, what it says, like.
See, this we discussed not today, yesterday, last session.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, you will have access to the videos, right? If I just throw some light on only this, that is not enough.
Okay, sure.
So just
I'll
go
go
through that
through it.
videos. Okay, go through the
I'll go
videos.
through it.
Still, if you have any questions, we'll discuss in the class. Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, Lakshman sir, every day morning 8 o'clock only will be circulated the link, or early hours also it will
No,
circulate?
same time. Like we'll create the instant link and we will share. See, as of now, you might be receiving this link from my team, but going forward, directly I'll be sending the link. Since these are initial classes, just they are routing the links, meeting links. I create the link and I'll share with them. Since I don't have your mail IDs with me as of now. So going forward, maybe after 2-3 classes, I'll just get all those email IDs.
Yeah.
I'll maintain
Yeah.
the distribution list. I'll be triggering this.
And this
link.
working notes also will be shared there in the drive, or
You
we'll
will
have
get
to
this
write?
sheet also, all for entire course. I will be
Yeah, because
writing
this
like
is
this.
very,
You will
this
be
sheet is
getting
very
this.
explanatory. This is a good actually. We'll
But more
understand.
than this, you write in your own style because I don't write everything, right? See, whatever other points what we discussed, two validation points, right? Deployment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you write in your own note, and I'll be sharing this whatever I'm writing. See, I'll be writing to explain you, right? I'm not writing whatever I'm explaining, but you have to write whatever I'm explaining.
Yeah, only why we are just asking because while traveling to the office, no,
No,
sometimes
I'll be
10,
sharing.
15 minutes.
I'll
Yeah.
be sharing. Yeah, no
Thank
doubt.
you.
I'll be sharing. You'll get for entire course. See, because whatever we discussed so far, this sheet you will get. I'll be placing this sheet as it is in the drive. Yep. I'll do that.
Yeah, Lakshman, can you please share that real-time videos? You have shared the
Which
folder.
drive you have access?
I have 1 minute. I'm
You have to
checking.
just say that month and month. So
Yeah,
that
I have 2024 March and 2023 November.
For me also same.
November. Okay.
Yeah,
So I'll be
but I
placing
don't
that.
have access to that real time, and I have
No, I
only
got your
interview.
point. That is the reason I'm asking the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The same you
For
mentioned,
me
right?
also same. For me
Yeah,
also
yeah.
same.
Fine. I'll be placing
Same with
today.
me.
No. Yeah, I got it. So we placed the reality that the real-time videos also in the November batch for them. No issues. Today, once again, I'll just do that. Okay. Today, I'll make
Okay.
sure I'll be placing the real-time videos in the drive and you can access and you can download it. You download,
sure,
but
sure.
don't delete it once you download, please. That is a request.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine.
Yeah.
Great.
So,
Yeah.
Lakshman, real-time videos are different than 58 class sessions we have
Yeah.
in
See,
November.
we will have a separate folder for real-time videos where I took
But
around 15 hours videos. So that is a separate subfolder we will have.
okay, okay. Yeah, we don't have that.
Anyway, everybody
Okay.
will be getting. Everybody will be getting. Okay. If it is missing, I will add it. That's all. Simple.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Great.